In 2003, a parasitologist named Mark Stoneking at the Max Planck Institute set out to answer a question that had puzzled anthropologists for decades. When did humans start wearing clothes? There were no fabric samples old enough to survive, no cave paintings clear enough to confirm it, so he looked somewhere nobody had thought to look before. He looked at lice. And what he found was a timestamp buried inside their DNA that nobody expected to still be there. To understand why lice hold this secret, you have to understand something about how parasites evolve. Every time a host species changes its behavior in a major way, the parasites that depend on that host are forced to adapt, split into new environments, develop new habits, eventually diverge into entirely separate species. And that divergence, that evolutionary split, leaves a mark in DNA that scientists can date with extraordinary precision. Here's the key fact. Humans have two species of lice: head lice, which live in hair, and body lice, which live exclusively in clothing. They are genetically almost identical, which means they share a common ancestor. At some point, one population of head lice found a new habitat, fabric pressed against human skin, and never left. That moment of separation is frozen in their DNA, and Stoneking's team calculated exactly when it happened: 170,000 years ago. Now picture that world. The sun is rising over the African savanna, the air is cold before dawn. A prehistoric figure emerges from a simple rock shelter, shaggy hair catching the first light, skin exposed to the biting morning wind. They are doing what every human before them had done, surviving cold with nothing but their own body. But something is about to change, because 170,000 years ago lines up almost perfectly with a period scientists call Marine Isotope Stage 6, one of the coldest and most brutal climate events in human prehistory. Temperatures plummeted, rainfall collapsed. Grasslands turned to desert. The African continent became, in places, nearly uninhabitable, and humans survived it, somehow, against every environmental odd stacked against them. Clothes are almost certainly part of the answer. A prehistoric figure wrapping animal hide around their body for the first time wasn't making a fashion choice. They were making a survival calculation. The same cold that was killing everything else around them was the pressure that pushed our ancestors to cover themselves, and the lice followed, moved from hair to fabric, and left a molecular record of that moment that survived 170,000 years, waiting for someone to find it. But here's where it gets stranger. 170,000 years ago, humans were not yet leaving Africa. The Great Migration out of the continent, the dispersal that eventually populated the entire planet, didn't happen until roughly 60,000 to 70,000 years ago, which means clothes weren't invented because humans walked into a cold climate. Clothes were invented while humans were still in Africa, in a period so cold and hostile that even their home continent was trying to kill them. They didn't migrate and then discover clothing. They discovered clothing, survived, and then had the capacity to migrate. That sequence changes everything about how we understand early human survival. Clothes weren't a luxury developed by a species already thriving. They were emergency technology developed by a species on the edge of extinction. Some researchers estimate that the human population during Marine Isotope Stage 6 may have dropped to just a few thousand individuals. The ancestors of every human alive today may have fit inside a single stadium. And one of the things that kept that tiny group alive was a piece of animal hide wrapped around a body on a cold African morning 170,000 years ago. Stoneking's lice research has since been refined and replicated by multiple independent teams. The date has shifted slightly across different studies. Some place the split closer to 83,000 years ago, others as far back as 190,000. But the method remains one of the most elegant pieces of detective work in all of human evolutionary science. The answer to one of our oldest questions was living on us the entire time. So the next time you pull on a shirt in the morning, understand what you're actually doing. You're completing a 170,000-year-old chain of behavior that started with a prehistoric human wrapping themselves in animal skin on a freezing African dawn, desperate to survive a world trying to erase them. The fabric changed, the cold is gone, but the instinct that reached for something to wear that morning is the same one running in you right now.